All right, I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council for the City of Calistoga. It is Tuesday, May 5th at 7:01 p.m. City Manager Spittler, has this meeting been properly noticed?
Yes, it has.
Thank you very much. City Clerk Flampson, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Lopez Ortega. Here. Councilmember Barnes.
Here.
Councilmember Kraus. Here. Vice Mayor Dunsford. Here. Mayor Canning.
Here. Please join me with a salute to the flag and remove your caps. Flag. Welcome, everyone. If you do have a cell phone, we politely request that you silence it, and that includes everyone up here as well, or put it on mute. Council did have a closed session that started this evening at 6 p.m. to discuss conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code 54957.6 regarding the following employee organizations: Calistoga Public Employees Association, Calistoga Police Officers Association, Calistoga Professional Firefighters Association, and the unrepresented employees. There is no reportable action at this time. Thank you. Oral communication on consent items or non-agendized items. This time is set aside to receive comments from the public regarding matters on the consent calendar or matters of municipal concern not on the agenda, pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, also known as the Brown Act. However, the Council cannot consider any issues or take action on any requests during this comment period. Speakers are encouraged to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes so that all speakers have an opportunity to address the Council. As a reminder, we do not, in the City of Calistoga, allow for the allotment of your time to another speaker. I have no speaker cards at this point. If there's anyone who'd like to address the Council on an item that is not on the agenda or under the consent calendar, please make yourself known. Not seeing any motion in that direction, I will close oral communication, City Clerk, and I will seek a motion for the adoption of the meeting agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kraus. I have a second by Councilmember Barnes. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to Council requests and ideas for discussion. Last week we started on the right. This week we'll start on the left. Councilmember Kraus.
Thank you. I have been asked by a couple of citizens when the road work that was approved in this year's budget is going to begin.
Director Kern.
Good evening, Mike Kern, Public Works Department. I take full responsibility for what I'm going to say. I'm not as far along as I would like to be. We have completed the survey for the Lower Washington component and just got the proposal from the consultants on the design today. They estimate 8 to 10 weeks for design. Ready to bid that. I had hoped to hire RGS, Regional Government Services, to help with the slurry seal. That individual works for the town of Yountville, and I thought it would be appropriate to piggyback on what they've done. He is cutting back his hours and didn't actually prepare the plans that they're using, but he did point me in the direction of the firm that they did hire. And I've reached out to them, get a proposal from them. So I hope that we'll have those plans completed by first part of July. So about 2 months behind schedule.
Yeah, I understand your workload down there, so we will be encumbering in some manner those funds, not using it necessarily as carryover, but any money that was allocated in this year's budget for road work will be spent in addition to whatever the council may approve for next year's budget. Is that
That'd be our intent?
I can make that statement to my constituents in that manner.
It's subject to budget deliberations, but that's what we will be recommending.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Councilmember Lopez Ortega.
Yes, first happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody. And then I had a comment. I've been approached by several parents and community members the school basically that they are expressing their discontent and confusion about the cancellation of the swimming lessons for the elementary school. They express, that they are frustrated because they think the city wait until last minute to look for lifeguards and volunteers to help with this program. So my take in this is that I think we should start it planning ahead of time, like and for not for this session, but for the next session for next year. So to be sure this not happen again. I had a lot of positive comments from parents that they want to, if we can create a committee or we can create a class for parents to be able to do a volunteer work, they're willing to do it. So I think that's positive out there.
Thank you. City Manager Spiller, you want to give us the 30-second update on that?
Well, we've been trying since last fall to recruit for lifeguards. Even Olivia Lehman was here, tried. And what we faced is most of the lifeguards get out of a high school or college. They don't do that until the first week of June. So we have a new recreation services manager, and her first task is to get the season open, which will be this coming Monday, May 11th. The lap swimming will start, aerobics. The family swim will be later on that month. And that advertising should go out tomorrow. And so that's the short game is to get, and we're desperately recruiting for lifeguards and getting them trained and into the city system. But the long game is, as Councilmember Lopez mentioned, is we've got to have a long-term plan to retain lifeguards and anticipate our needs, staffing needs, and make it more I think, amenable to them to stay on as staff. So that's what we're going to work on.
And it's fair to say that in your recruitment efforts and approaching several communities around us, including St. Helena, Santa Rosa, et cetera, that they are all in the exact same situation as we are, which is a dramatic reduction in the availability of lifeguards because of new state regulations, training, et cetera. So it's not a case of we're the only ones out there scratching for
We're all struggling and stealing from each other. I raised our hourly wage to try to get people. So, yeah. But we got behind. I take responsibility for that. But trying to build back up our lifeguard team.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Councilmember Barnes.
Yes, Calistoga American Legion Post 231 will be putting on our traditional Memorial Day ceremonies on May 25th. The first one will be at 9:30 in the morning up at Pioneer Cemetery, where we honor the 23 Civil War veterans buried up there. Again, Dean Enderlin will be there with his full crew in full Civil War dress, honoring those veterans. Then at 11 o'clock, we'd also do our traditional Memorial Day service at Logby Park, honoring the veterans that have laid down there with the bricks, and we'll be putting in 11 new honorees this year. The Saturday before, May 16th, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we will be laying the 11 new bricks for the new honorees, and the public is invited to that. Some of the honorees are still living, others, their families will be there. They can actually place the bricks in the plaza, or they can stand and watch. So it's a very moving event. Like everybody that can to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Dunsford.
Nothing tonight.
I have one item. I've been approached by several of the adults who are in the adult basketball league, asking the city to officially request of the school district the use of the new gymnasium as well as the old gymnasium. Their theory is it's their tax dollars that are building it, or I should say have built it. Why can't they play on it, especially when there is not a conflict in scheduling? So if the city manager could initiate a request to the school district, that would be appreciated. All right, we're going to move on to proclamations, presentations, and awards. The first presentation of a proclamation is announcing May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I'll read the proclamation, and then I will present that to, if they can approach the podium now, Lupe Cachu and Ricky Hurtado. City of Calistoga Proclamation Mental Health Month 2015. Whereas 1 in 4 individuals will experience mental health issues in their lifetimes, which can affect parents, sisters, brothers, spouses, co-workers, and others in our lives. And whereas it is essential to eliminate discrepancies in mental health by promoting well-being for all, regardless of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, language, place of residence, or age, and ensure equity of access, delivery of services, and improvement of outcomes. Whereas every Napa County resident can be an ally by learning about and dispelling the myths related to mental illness and eliminating stigma by treating individuals with mental illness with respect. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Chris Canning, as mayor of the city of Calistoga, do hereby proclaim May 2015 as Mental Health Month in the city of Calistoga. As the mayor of the city of Calistoga, I also call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses and schools in Napa to recommit ourselves and our community in increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, to supporting our community members so that they can take action to protect their mental health, and to promoting appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Thank you very much. I'll bring this up to you, but if you'd like to share with us the organization you're representing and what you guys do, that'd be great.
Mayor Canning, City Council, thank you for having us here and having us be part of this proclamation. Just really quick, I'm Ricky Hurtado and Lupe Cachu, and we are part of the Up Valley Family Centers, where we serve a lot of our clients with not only all these different types of issues regarding the family, but with mental health wellness as well. Actually, tomorrow we'll be having a mental health workshop. Fortunately, it's going to be in St. Helena, but we're planning to bring one to Calistoga as well. This will be provided by our promotores, which is a key group of volunteers that wants to bring issues to the community. So we're really proud of that. We have therapists as well that we work with. We connect with family services of Napa Valley, and we're really excited to be working in Calistoga and all of Up Valley. So thank you very much. We're going to have some of our students, Claro Clara students, share a quick little bit about themselves and what the program has offered them.
And my name is Lupe Cachu, and from Up Valley Family Center, I would like to thank the City Council. And we brought our high school and junior high students. They will introduce themselves. These are the students that we work with under a youth mentoring program.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Litzy. Hi, my name is Jasmine.
Hi, my name is Perla.
Hi, my name is Victoria, and something about Clara that has helped me this year is it has helped me to understand my tradition and culture better, and because I'm a Latina, and we have been learning about some people that are very important to us, like Cesar Chavez and very other important people, and I feel like Clara has helped us very much in through our problems and with our culture and tradition.
Hi, my name is Diana, and a thing that Clara helped me out in is it actually helped me like to understand like what is a lady and like all that, and it also helped me in my family situations and like how to deal with them and how to like do something better that isn't like harming yourself or like, you know. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ale, and I'm in the high.
All right, well, you heard some of our students. I believe we are going to be introducing as well Peggy, who's going to be speaking on this issue.
Welcome, Peggy. How are you?
Okay. My name is Peggy Mitchell, and I'm a resident of Calistoga, and I attend PEP, People Empowering People in Napa. And I'd like to say thank you for the proclamation, and thank you on behalf of PEP. Thank you for each and every one of it means a lot to us at PEP. And I attend the mental health center in Napa.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. And thank you, Lupe and Ricky, for what you do with Clara as well. Thank you, ladies, for coming this evening. Next, we're going to move on to presentation of service awards. The first one we have is to Plant Operator 1, Jeffrey Gorham, who will not be here, but I'm sure accepting in his absence will be Director Kern. And this is a certificate of appreciation awarded to Jeffrey Gorham, Plant Operator 1, for 5 years of dedicated service to the City of Calistoga, awarded May 5th, 2015. Mike, you can get this at the end. Thank you. Next, we have Maintenance Technician 3, Fred Heminger, and everybody knows Fred. Fred is celebrating, which is hard to believe because he looks so young, 10 years of service with the City of Calistoga. Service award presented to Fred Heminger, Public Works Department Maintenance Technician 3, 2005 to 2015, with sincere appreciation for 10 years of service to the City of Calistoga, presented by the Mayor and City Council of the City of Calistoga. Fred, come on up here and collect this.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
She writes the check every month.
Yeah, and she does it well. And I will just say that I have enjoyed working here. It's been an experience. I came to this valley with my family in 1963, and we saw a lot of undeveloped property and areas. We came up here to the carnival that was here in Calistoga, and we had a different experience about what we saw. It was very rural, and we thought, hey, this is a different place. A year later, my family moved up here to Napa, and we've lived there ever since. But I decided that I've always thought about Calistoga as a unique place that I'd like to see more of. So when I saw the job announcement and opening, I thought, well, why not? How bad could it be? So here I am, 10 years later. I said I was only going to do 10 years, but maybe a couple more. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, we challenge you to go to at least get the 15-year award.
Wait till you see the 15-year
At least come back for the 15-year award.
Applying me. Thank you.
Well, for those of you that haven't bumped into Fred around town, he keeps the watch ticking, as they say. Everything moving along, so thank you very much for that. Next, we have Senior Account Clerk Angela Madrigal for 15 years of service. This one's sincere. You must have started right when you were like 16 or 17, right? Come on up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. All right. Thank you. Be sure to show Fred how cool the 15-year award is, so he's encouraged to
Yep.
stay 5 more
Absolutely.
years. Thank you. Moving on to consent calendar. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented unless anyone would like to pull a particular item.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Barnes. I have a second by Councilmember Kraus. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously, City Clerk. There are no public hearings this evening, so we'll move on to general government. Item number 5, consideration of a resolution to accept the classification and compensation study prepared by Koff and Associates. The recommended action this evening is to adopt the resolution. Taking us through this item this evening will be Gloria Leone and City Manager Spindler.
Yeah, I'll jump in to introduce this. The council commissioned a study by Coffin Associates to look at employee classifications, how we're structured, job descriptions, and actually interview employees and come up with recommendations to update them, as well as look at other cities and what they pay the employees and how we compare to that. As a city manager, I have to make decisions on personnel almost on a daily basis, as well as negotiate with labor groups. And the last time a comprehensive study was done was at least 10 years ago. So it was time to have a professional that come in, look at our organization, and give recommendations on possible changes on how we set it up, and give information about compensation that other comparable cities would provide on the same position. So the study is complete. It has been presented to the council in advance of this meeting, as well as labor groups. And Katie Kaneko with Coffin Associates is going to give a brief summary of the 2-volume reports. It's pretty hefty reading, pretty dense reading. They did an excellent job, and so I'm going to have her kind of talk about that and address any questions that the council might have. I must stress that this study is a resource document. It is not binding on the city, but it will, as I said, give us a lot of valuable information for us to look at individual employees and employee groups about their position title, how to restructure the organization so that we have proper separation between positions, and also to look at compensation into the future. So with that, I'll have Katie come up and give her a summary of the report.
Katie, welcome back to Calistoga.
Thank you. Good evening to the members of the council. As Richard indicated, I was project manager for the classification and compensation study that we conducted for the city. Wanted to make sure that the body of work that is captured in the description was reflective of what's being done today. They hadn't been updated for a while. And that we had clear distinction in leveling and adequate career ladders to support the operations here in the city. And to accomplish that, invited all employees to presentations, introduced the process, set expectations, what to expect, what not to expect. Asked them all to complete questionnaires that would describe the body of work that they're performing, followed up with in-person interviews to allow them opportunity to convey information that is difficult to put in writing, and for us to follow up with questions. From that information, looked at each position and made recommendations related to each of those, and updated all of the class descriptions in draft form, which we sent back through the organization, and employees had a chance to look at and provide feedback to make sure that, in fact, it did represent the work that they were performing. The result of that is that there were 9 classifications that we found. All of them needed updating. It's been a while since they had been, but 9 classifications recommended to retitle just to reflect current industry norms and what most organizations refer to that body of work. And then there were 2 classifications or 2 4 positions altogether that were reclassified to better reflect industry norms. So those firefighters looked more what we would expect a fire and engineer to perform. And then there was one individual who's a plant operator too, who had taken on lead responsibilities and felt that should be reflected as a senior. And then we created a few classifications for vacancies, just again to allow for future succession planning. So that was the result of the classification study. The compensation study before the council months ago. Part of our process is to get agreement from all and input from different stakeholders on the comparator group, and we'd agreed upon 12 comparator agencies. It created 33 classifications, and what we do is we choose representation of the functional areas and services that are performed within the city, as well as leveling within the classifications that exist, and we get a good market survey of those benchmark classifications in comparison to those 12 agencies. So generally we choose about 2/3. There were 9 classifications that weren't surveyed. We were able to get sufficient market data on all but 1 classification. There were required that there be at least 4 comparator matches in order to do any sort of market recommendations or statistical analysis. So we looked at base salary, we looked at total compensation, which includes retirement, insurances, holidays, and we summarized in monthly dollars the cost to the employer for each of these benefits that they pay on behalf of the employee. And what we presented for each of those benchmarked classifications was 3 data spreadsheets that summarized the base salary or the top monthly salary, the benefits, and then total compensation, which is the combination of salary plus benefits. And then focusing in on the market median, which is where most organizations feel is a fair place to evaluate compensation. We found that in most cases, City of Calistoga was behind in both monthly salary and benefits, total compensation. On average of all of the benchmark classifications, they were about 17% behind base pay, about 16.2% behind in total compensation. So from there, we made recommendations on how the city might get employees some options and getting salary and more in line with the market. Our recommendations initially were based on top monthly salary, but we gave some options and some data to look at basing those recommendations on total compensation also.
Thank you. For those of you following on in the audience, the 2 charts specifically that Katie has referenced are in the staff report for this item. Again, this is item number 5, is page 11, and then page 23 as reference points. Council members, questions, please.
Comment. This is a very good study. Thank you very much. I've worked with these kinds of studies during my career before I retired, and this is one of the better ones I've seen. For those of you following along at home, we did compare ourselves to 11 other cities. So this is not just a kind of a loose compilation of facts and figures. We compared ourselves to Healdsburg, St. Helena, Sebastopol, Yountville, Petaluma, Windsor, Cloverdale, Sonoma, American Canyon, Napa, and Rohnert Park. So it's 2 counties, it's bigger cities, some smaller cities. So it's a very good cross-section of what's going on up in the northern 2 valleys here in north of San Francisco. So again, yeah, I think you've done a very good job. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comment I'd also like to make is in the study, which is specifically on page 23, which is often a concern of private sector viewing public sector, is you did 2 comparisons. One was your salary, and the second was all compensation included, which I appreciated. Any other questions of council?
I would just like to say that the study doesn't just cover the salaries and fringe benefits of the employees. One of the key things, in my opinion, about this study is that it sets down the job details, the qualifications for individuals to be in those positions, what duties that they are expected to accomplish, and that forms the basis for evaluations which hold employees accountable for what it is that they do in the performance of their duty. So I think that is something that is, to me, just as important as trying to find the norm for salary and fringe benefits.
The last time, when did we figure out we did this the last time? 1999. Okay. So we're due for it. And then a reminder to the public on the cost of this particular study. Gloria probably roughly knows.
I'd be willing to bet the consultant knows.
I think
Let's
the
see if their
contract was
numbers.
40,000.
Hope those numbers are the
35.
same.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's about 35,000.
35,000. So it's quite an investment to make sure that we're in line for the employees and that the employees are being recognized for the work they're doing as well.
And I think it's important to point out that all the employee groups have received copies of this. This will become a working document for all negotiations going forward.
A reference document.
Yes, reference, not.
Thank you. Not a policy document. I will open this to the public. If there's anyone in the public that has questions, comments, etc. on this matter, not seeing any motion toward the podium, I will close this. Any further discussion? All right, the recommended action this evening is to adopt the resolution as presented. Unless there's further discussion, I will entertain that.
I'll move the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Dunsford. I have a second by Councilmember Barnes. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Katie, thank you very much for
Very welcome.
you and your
Thank
team's
you
work.
for having me.
Appreciate it. If somebody's capable in the back of the room, if you could turn off the air conditioner, that would probably be appreciated by some of us up here, wrapping themselves in coats. Item number 6, consideration of accepting an update from staff on the Monhoff Center rehabilitation and direction of staff regarding use of racquetball court number 1. The recommended action is to provide direction to staff. Taking us through this item is none other than our own Director of Public Works, Michael Kern.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mike Kern, Public Works Department. In March, we hired Tom Stimpert as an architect to help us prepare the plans and specifications for the rehabilitation of the Monhoff Center. And Tom is moving diligently on those. He's prepared as-built, so now we have a good handle of what the building footprint is and what kind of improvements need to be made. We're at a point now where we need to make a decision on what we want to do with the racquetball courts, whether we leave them as racquetball courts or do something else with them. One of the directions that you gave us when we hired Tom was to meet with the stakeholders with specific attention to the teen center representatives and the racquetball court players. We met with the teen center folks individually, and then we met with everybody as a group. And during those meetings, a couple of things came out of that. The teen center representatives indicated that they really like the temporary home that we've set up for them. It's basically a very nice setup. It's kind of a one-stop shop. They can see everything. There's enough room for them to do what they need to do. It's about 900 square feet. The existing first floor area is just under 600 square feet, and they expressed some trepidation about moving back into that first floor now that they've felt the luxury of a little larger area. They requested that racquetball court number 1, which is the one that's closest to the tennis courts, be dedicated to their sole use. They wanted a door cut in the teen center so that they could communicate back and forth. They indicated that they would put their ping pong table, their pool table, and other kind of recreational activities in the racquetball court. use the first floor for their computer games and homework station. The racquetball court people weren't too keen on that idea. They indicated that the Monhoff Center was built first and foremost as a racquetball court facility, that they use it frequently and often at the same time that the teen center is there. They indicated that they have on occasion vacated the racquetball court so that the teen center could recreate in there. They weren't real happy with giving up any of their space, or what they think is their space. At the conclusion of the meeting, it was apparent that although each side made compelling arguments, there wasn't a whole lot of, no one was willing to give anything. So what we're asking for is direction from the council. We believe that a good compromise for the teen center is to allow them to move back into the first floor and convert the second floor to a computer homework station for them. So they would have full access, sole access dedicated to them for the first and the second floor, maintaining both racquetball courts for racquetball play, with the understanding that the city would be able to program those areas for other recreational opportunities, such as jiu-jitsu, maybe a dance class, aerobics, something like that. So that's our recommendation, and we're looking for direction from you so we can move forward.
Thank you. First question I have is, what's the square footage on the second floor?
It's the same as the
Approximately the same?
downstairs, so it's a little over just right at 600 square feet.
So total, if first and second floor were to be utilized for Boys and Girls Club, they've had 1,200 square feet.
Yes.
Okay. Council members, questions of staff before we open this to public?
I think one of the things that the Boys and Girls Club is probably more concerned about is, it said they can see everything that's going on, configuration that they're in right now. And with having a 2-story venue, that would be tough for them to do unless they had somebody up there to keep an eye on things. So I can understand their favoritism towards having more square footage, but at the same time, I'm not sure that simply cutting a hole in a wall is going to give them any more supervisorial capability over some kids. So I think your suggestion of allowing them to take over the second floor as well as the first floor is probably a pretty good compromise in there. And I really think that when a group steps forward, like the racquetball players, and sees a need and builds their dream there, that the city should honor that initiative. And otherwise, other folks that do stuff like that for us may not have the same expectation for their continued use of it. So,
Any other council members? All right, Councilmember Barnes. You fall into the other council members.
Yes, okay.
Like to.
I was thinking, sorry.
Okay.
I know that's unusual. Yeah, I tend to agree with Councilman Kraus on that. This was set up, built, and given, not given, but maybe it was given to the city by the racquetball folks, and I think they should get first dibs on it. They have in the past, I believe, been generous in their giving of one of the courts to the kids when they needed it. I know they donated both courts when they were doing the haunted house there, and a couple other times they had done it. And I also noticed that they are very willing to provide lessons and equipment for the kids to learn how to play racquetball. I think that's a great idea, and I think it'd be a good asset for this community. On the other side, I do see where, Clint's got his hands full down there with a lot of kids, and if you got them upstairs and downstairs, you lose some of your supervision. Is that, Clint, going to be a major problem for you, or is it something you can handle? I know you can handle almost anything, but
if you're addressing a question to Clint, is that what's going
yes,
on?
can
Clint,
I do that?
If you're comfortable answering the question, please approach the podium. Should you so choose, share with us your name and in this case, the organization you're representing.
Clint Ferreira, Calistoga team. The answer to your question is yes, we could do it. It's a matter of juggling staff, kids, and making sure that behaving the way that.
Well, from the times I've been down there, it seems like they're kids, they're teenagers. They get a little rowdy, but they're basically a good bunch of kids.
Very much.
And they rotate through every year. You lose some and get some new ones. And I think the older ones who had the experience tend to help the younger ones to acclimate to what you guys are, what you do, and to don't screw this up or we'll beat the hell out of you.
Like that.
So if you're comfortable with this compromise, I think it's one that should and could work. It's worked in the past, and who knows, it may not be forever.
I have one question.
I will hold that one thought. Any other council members? I'll open this to the public now. All right. Open to the public. Clint, please. Anything you'd like to say or question?
Yes. One question of why does Calistoga need to records? What would be the scheduling issue?
All right. I think we have some people that might
I-
address that for us.
Couldn't answer that, but
All right.
there says we have some people out there.
Thank you, Clint. I am opening this to the public. I do not have any speaker cards at this time, but if anyone would like to speak on this item, please approach the podium, share with us, should you so choose, your name and address, and limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Dr. Norman Mitroff, MIT, ROFF, like Frank, 954 Brown Street, St. Helena, California. The reason we need 2 courts is that there are a sufficient number of players. I don't know if any of you play racquetball. The maximum number of people you can put on a court at any given time is 4 people. You can't have more than that. And there are 8, 10 of us, ready to play. It becomes obvious that only has been very appropriately described by Mr. Barnes. We have bent over backwards and will continue to do so, make the courts available to the teen center for kids, as we have for Halloween and other events. We have no interest in dominating, controlling the courts. Just want to play racquetball.
Is there a court in St. Helena?
No, the closest courts. Well, there's the courts here in Calistoga. The next courts within the Napa Valley or at the college.
PUC?
No. PUC doesn't have any. It's the Napa Valley College by Mola. So,
all right.
If you wanted to play, during lunchtime or right after work, drive an hour down the road just to get there before you play is not very good.
So this is an Up Valley resource as opposed to just a Calistoga
resource. Without a
resource.
doubt, that we have players from throughout all of the upper valley of Napa.
How many players would you estimate there are in the group?
20 plus?
All right. Okay.
How many hours a week would you say the courts are in use?
Oh, 3 times 7, 20 plus hours.
Okay.
Also, concierge of Valley, like Solage, when guests stay there, which I believe is good for the city. People say, I like to exercise, where can I go? They're sending them to the racquetball court. And I think it's a good value added.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on this topic? Yes, sir. Should you so choose, which you've already done, shared with us your name and address.
Don Williams, 59 View Road. I have no objection to the compromise. Of course, I'm speaking only for myself, but I think the compromise that staff has offered is fine. And I think that the other court players would agree with that also. My sense, talking with them over the month, indicates that they would be agreeable to that compromise as well. I appreciate your remarks, Mr. House, about the volunteers, because one of my main ideas is, 35 years ago when we were hammering out there, volunteers were out there working on it, and donors donated resources for the courts for that purpose, as you've indicated, for the purpose of the two courts. And you may know the history that the additional rooms were added on as additional resources became available, sort of unexpectedly. Just by the building, it's kind of a wonky place as it is, because
It's very unique.
it's it was built organically, say. But due to those efforts, 35 years ago, I was not an organizer, but merely a helper. But due to those efforts of people 35 years ago, racquetball people mainly, because of those efforts, those additional rooms have been available all this time for Park and Rec for a while upstairs. Boys and girls. So it would be discouraging to have a court removed when it's used by us when it was built just for that purpose. So keeping the two courts and rebuilding it as they are maintains respects the original intent of the building, and it also maintains the versatility, because they're used, as Councilmember Barnes said, they're used not only for the racquetball and handball, but also for the basketball. The kids will play basketball in there, and kickball in there, and martial art, Halloween, all kinds of things are available to the courts when they're unoccupied. If they're occupied, then they're used. So we appreciate compromise.
I have one question, Don.
Yes.
On the outside of the building, they have these, I'd call them handball courts, outdoor, and as part of this project, we're thinking of taking the wings off to give more room back there.
Yeah, those
that
long wings. Yeah, practice tennis.
Right.
Yeah, those
Right.
those. We talked with Michael about that. Those are not material to us.
Okay.
And they can stay or disappear.
Okay.
It does not matter. So if it's helpful for the structural integrity of the building or for additional use, I don't think there's any objection.
Thank you. The reason I bring that up is that this is sort of a guess that the teen center eventually will want a more permanent structure, probably right where they are now in the modular. And we have these outdoor handball courts that aren't used that much. And while we're under construction, to just lop off the wings there so that there's a lot more room there for should a building be located there in the future while we're at it.
All right. Anyone else want to make a public comment? I see some movement in there.
Uh-oh.
Yes, sir. Please share with us your name, your rank, your address, and what you do for the city of Calistoga.
My name is Tim Martin. I'm a moderate racquetball player. I just wanted to add some information. The courts at Napa College are not open to the public all the time. They have people that show up on Saturday mornings and Thursday evenings. Otherwise, it's not open throughout the day like the courts here in Calistoga.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to address this topic? All right, I'll bring it back to the council. I have a question for Director Kern, under whom Park and Rec Services falls under. I'm assuming that we are still, as we have been for several years, resource challenged on facilities where Zumba classes could occur, yoga classes could occur, things of that nature that are asked for, requested by residents through the Park and Rec Department. Correct?
That's correct.
The racquetball court, when not being used for racquetball, is a pretty ideal location for some, if not ideal, I should say. It's a suitable location for some of that activity, correct?
Yes. Most of those activities take place here, and this building gets a lot of use.
More use than it should.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions?
I'll just express my opinion. I find this issue a little upsetting. I just don't find this to be a compromise at all. We're talking about a group of 20 people, and I respect the fact that they love their sport, but when you look at the benefits to the kids of this community and the lack of resources and facilities, I just find this upsetting. I absolutely think we should be prioritizing the use of the space for the kids. To me, a compromise is that we preserve one court. And if the teen center is telling us that they would like and need this additional space of one of those courts, I think we need to grant them that space. To expect them to move things in and out is a big chore, and it's not fair and reasonable. I would be in favor that if we build another facility in future, then in future the racquetball people could then get their second court back. But I think we need to be putting the kids first. We're talking about a group of 6 people. Some are from St. Helena, up to a group of 20. This is Calistoga. We're serving the kids of Calistoga, and the needs of the many should outweigh the needs of the few. And that's where I stand.
All right, any other council members? My position on this, respectfully disagree. You're taking what used to be, you're in a temporary space of 900 square feet. You're going to a space of 1,200 square feet. Certainly not ideal. Certainly reasonably priced. It is a city building. In giving you the 2 floors, giving the teen center the 2 floors, they're not going to be required to be moving things out as often as possible. While relatively speaking, there may be fewer racquetball players than teens, the reason I asked my question of Director Curran is there are a lot of other groups in the community that could certainly make use of that space. I think my position is I think it's a fair compromise. Any other council members before we seek some direction or a motion on this, or direction at this point?
Just want to add that you're talking about a computer lab upstairs, which has great benefits. But as far as recreational space, kids horsing around, playing games, blowing off steam, you're talking about 600 square feet. So to me, the 1,100 square feet or whatever it is that they have, it's better than what they had before, but it's still not sufficient, in my opinion. And they probably would want more space if they had it. And here's an opportunity to not only give them more space, but to also give them a computer lab. I mean, we are so deficient on facilities and space for our kids.
We're also deficient on facilities and space for everybody in the community. And I think, from my position, there's been nobody more supportive and no council more supportive than the efforts of the Teen Center and the Boys and Girls Club. But we also need to take into consideration everybody's use, and there will be benefit of those courts for activities for the kids as well. At this point, you're looking for direction and consensus. My position is that we move forward on the compromise and giving both floors to the Teen Center. Also to take into consideration, as a matter of fairness, we're, if I'm not mistaken, giving this land, or giving this building, if there is a desire and a need for more space, then they're welcome to find space elsewhere as well.
I think the other issue that I see is that we are going to be renting space over at the fairgrounds to put the park and recreation folks at, and before they occupied the second floor there. So, the city is incurring an expense that we didn't have before by moving our offices over to the fairgrounds rather than keeping it there in that building, and thereby bringing up another 600 square feet in that manner. So I can agree that it's not the best in the West for the Boys and Girls Club, but I think that's what we have.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that position. It is actually a net gain for the Boys and Girls Club. If the rainstorm loss to the Monhof had not occurred, they would still be there doing exactly what they're doing in 600 square feet. Now they're going to get 1,200 square feet. So it is a net gain to the Boys and Girls Club and status quo for the racquetball guys because they were giving up part of one of their courts before for certain things. They've agreed that that is still okay with them. So I tend to agree with the mayor.
Councilmember Lopez Ortega.
The point, and that's the point. The important point here is that and the ball players, they're willing to share the space. They are not saying it's gonna be ours and nobody else can come. They can share the space, accommodate the needs of each group. So if they're willing to do that, I don't see big problem.
I think
Again,
one
no-
other comment for the racquetball players. There's an old saying, use it or lose it.
So encourage some of these teens to learn how to play and want to use it. And again, this is no comment on. We all are big cheerleaders and big fans of what happens at the teen center, and this is not again, Councilmember Bard's not a loss. It's a net gain, and it's a matter of a very challenged community when it comes to resources, trying to balance. So with that said, I'm sensing the consensus at moving in the direction of compromise, offering both floors, first and second, to the Boys and Girls Club, maintaining, to the Teen Center, excuse me, maintaining 2 racquetball courts with the understanding that they will be utilized for other classes, but not on a permanent basis. Fair enough? Director Kern, City Manager Spitler, you're okay with that? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to item number 7, consideration of a resolution awarding a construction contract to Majora and Galati Incorporated in the amount of $1,094,094 for the Calistoga Recycled Water Storage Pond project and authorizing the city manager to execute the contract. The recommended action is to adopt the resolution. Taking us through this is Director Kern.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Mike Kern, Public Works Department. We're happy to bring this item before you. This is integral to our cease and desist order that was issued by the regional board last November. We opened bids, got 7 bids. I was surprised that we got that many. The apparent low bid and the second low bid are less than 4% apart. So that tells me that the plans were very clear. They were easy to bid. So I'm pleased with those results. The recommendation is for you to adopt a resolution that conditionally awards the contract to Majora and Gelati. This is a little bit different than what we've done in the past, wherein if they don't produce the documents required under the contract, their insurance, their bonds, and those things in a timely manner, then we'll move on to the second low bid. Time is of the essence, and therefore we're doing it in this fashion. I have every reason to believe that they will submit their documents, but just in the off chance that they don't, we need to be able to move nimbly and quickly. The resolution also establishes the construction budget of $1.28 million, which is comprised of the $750,000 Prop 84 grant that we won and $530,000 from the sewer connection fees. So with that, we're recommending that you adopt the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. And for any questions you may have.
Thank you. First off, thank you again for all the effort you did to secure us that grant of $750,000. Yeoman's effort on your part, thank you. I also am very supportive of your strict, firm deadline for documents and move on to the next, because we are all aware of our situation and don't have time to dilly-dally. Any council members with questions of staff before I open it to public?
Find it incredible that 4 of the 7 bidders have the name Galati in it. There's no chance that there was any collusion there.
I'm going to say no. The reason that
That's the right answer, by the way.
The reason that there's 4 gelati companies is I don't think they get along too well.
Bunch of brothers.
Yeah, brothers and cousins. And
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anyone in the public? Close it to the public, bring it back in for a further discussion or a motion on this matter as presented.
I have one question.
Please.
Is this is in addition to the ponds we already have?
That's correct.
Now, I know some of those ponds may have to be replaced or fixed in the future, but this will certainly help as we go through that process, correct?
Yes, what this does is it gets us more storage when we need it in the most critical times, and typically those are the shoulder seasons before we can discharge to the river. So late October, early November, when the ponds are full, there's no river flow. We've in the past over irrigated the Fox Field, and then we've had incidental runoff go into the river. That's perfectly allowable under our permit, but the regional board would like us to minimize that to the greatest extent, and that's the reason for this pond.
All right, with that said, if there's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion on this. Should someone wish to present?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kraus. I have a second by Vice Mayor Dunsford. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, consideration of a resolution approving a consultant services agreement for $56,424 with Consolidated CM for construction management and inspection services on the Calistoga Recycled Water Storage Pond project, and authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. The recommended action this evening is to adopt the resolution as presented. Also taking us through this as a related topic is Director Kern.
Good evening, council members, Mayor, Mike Kern, Public Works Department. And this item is integral to the item just approved. Consolidated CM was the construction manager inspector for the Mount Washington tank. So we have a very good working relationship with them. They were identified to be the most qualified of the 3 proposals that we got. We're recommending that your council approve the agreement or approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with them. Funds for this project will be included in the total construction budget that you just established at $1.28 million, and will be included in this year's budget and next year's budget.
So these funds are not incremental to what we just approved. It's inclusive.
It's inclusive of.
As we read it. Thank you. Council members, any questions? Public, any questions? Bring it back to the council, and I'll entertain a motion on this matter as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Well done. Gotcha.
Got it in there.
Motion by Councilmember Barnes, second by Councilmember Lopez Ortega. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Councilmember Lopez Ortega, thank you for our Cinco de Mayo pens we all have here. Appreciate that. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We will adjourn to the next special session, which is May 14th, a budget special session at the firehouse at noon. Thank you. Have a good evening. Happy Cinco de Mayo.